What is up, all you real estate loving individuals? This is episode number 16 of the Real Estate Take podcast, and I'm your host, Wendell Butler. This is your go-to podcast for tons of information regarding the current real estate market, where we get various real estate professionals' current take on different areas of real estate. For today's guest, we have Christina Wright. Christina is a real estate investor with over a decade of experience in private equity and banking with Ridgemount Equity Partners and Wells Fargo Securities. She has a passion for learning and sharing her knowledge with other investors to guide them down the path of financial freedom and maximizing their generational wealth through real estate. Christina is a licensed North Carolina real estate broker. She also has a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Sociology from Stony Brook University. Christina grew up in Charlotte and currently resides in Concord, North Carolina. She enjoys spending time with her husband, stepson, and 2 mini dachshunds. So did I say that right? It was dachshund. Dachshunds. I always read it dachshund for some reason because they're a hound, right?
That's a thing.
Also, she's a loyal Mets fan, which, hey, they had a pretty good year this year. Pretty awesome. And dedicated to fitness and healthy lifestyle. So let's bring in Christina. Christina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, so glad to have you on. Been in contact for a bit, and I know you do a lot of stuff in the real estate space, especially educating wise as well. But yeah, just break down. We can get into it right away, and just tell us a little bit more about yourself and what got you into real estate and what's kind of your backstory.
Yeah, for sure. So I got into real estate, I guess now about 2.5, 3 years ago. I was working in private equity. I guess we can go back, but I basically have been an executive assistant and office manager for the last 14 years. Loved it, was really good at it. And then one day I kind of just realized that I was living in a rat race, and every day was exactly the same, but also wasn't exactly the same. And it was just getting to the point where I was like, all right, there has to be another way for me to figure out like what I'm going to do to make myself better. So then I actually stumbled on Rich Dad, Poor Dad and read that. And then right after that, I read Psychology and Money. And then those 2 books just completely flipped my mindset. And then also when I started at Wells Fargo, I was the executive assistant to the head of commercial real estate. So I was 24 when I had that job, didn't really know anything about commercial real estate, really had no idea what anyone was doing there. My job was to manage calendars, answer phones, do all the assistant things. So me and her are still really good friends. And 2.5 years ago, we went up to her beach house in Avalon, New Jersey. And then I started kind of putting 2 and 2 together of what real estate can do for you, because she also has a portfolio with her family of multifamily properties. So she has built a little empire on her side, as well as being an executive at the bank. So that also really springboarded me. And then that trip is when I decided like, I'm going to become a real estate investor. So got back from New York and I started looking for real estate investor associations because that's what Robert Kiyosaki told me to do. Went and visited a ton around Charlotte and just started going to those. I bought into the get rich quick programs that they would sell on subject to or distressed houses, driving for dollars, knocking on doors. And those were fun. So then I started knocking on doors in Concord and just driving around, taking addresses, finding phone numbers. And I started calling on all of these families in Concord who were big real estate families. And I was like, this is really interesting. There has to be an easier way for me to get in touch with these people. So I started networking in town. I actually asked my real estate agent at the time if she knew any attorneys in Concord, and she did. And she introduced me to one. I told her what my plans were, what I wanted to do. And she was like, oh, you need to meet Greg Lafferty. And I was like, cool. So I met him, came into his office, and we were just chatting about what my goals were. And he's been a real estate investor for over 28 years, has several businesses, which I'll get into later. And he was in the phase of life where he was starting a little property management and real estate investing business. And I asked him how I could get involved. A week later, I was back in his office and he offered me a job to be investor relations for my firm, Branch Wealth Partners. And then basically what we do here is we help people become professional real estate investors and help them build generational wealth through real estate. So I feel like now I'm truly living in my calling, and I am learning every single day, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you touched on a lot of points there. One is definitely the networking portion of it, which is people don't understand how big of a pro that is, or like how important it is, because just from networking or just talking to people or just going around and, asking questions and letting people know what you're trying to do, that alone like sets you up on the right path to maybe meet the right person or mentor, learn the information that you need to make the next steps forward, etc. And it seems like just by you going around asking people, telling people what you do, that landed you to meet your partner with Branch Wealth, and now you guys are doing a lot more, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We like to say that your network is your net worth.
Oh yeah.
So I really hold true to that. I also, my like subtitle is a professional friend finder. So my job is to be out and about in town and meet as many people as I can and make my business not obscure. So when people see me and they hear my name, they associate me with real estate investing. So that's my job. And we teach our mentees through our education program that building your team, that's actually class number 2, like building your business and building your team, and the importance of having those great contractors, those great attorneys, your CPAs, your tax strategists, all of those people. That really is how you succeed in real estate.
Yeah, real estate's like a team sport. So you gotta you gotta definitely have some legal on your side. You gotta have accountants on your side, especially with all the tax what do they call them? Not loopholes, but like the tax benefits of real estate. They're not loopholes, they're there for a reason. It's because every single IRS person uses it too. Yeah, creating a team allows you to do a lot more rather than doing everything yourself. Plus, you don't get burnt out. Plus, if you're wearing too many hats, you can't really focus on the main important thing of real estate investing, which is really networking and finding deals. If you're thinking about doing all the legal stuff or all the accounting stuff or like doing all the work yourself, swinging the hammer, which if you like to do that, that's fine. But if you really want to get into an investor type mindset, you shouldn't be swinging the hammer as much as you think you should. That's not investing. That's a job to me, I think.
Yeah. And you don't know what you don't know. So this is why you have this team of people around you and you continue getting educated, but like, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, and I don't really want to be. So I'm going to partner with the best in town so that I know I'm taken care of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I can't tell how many times I've had like a thought of how to make an agreement and then I send it over to my attorney and they're like, no. Like, you need to do it this way. And I'm like, oh, thank God, because I guess what I was doing was illegal.
Yeah.
But
I just had a whole.
Yeah. That's why you go to attorneys, to be like, help me. This is what I want to do. Make it legal.
Yeah, for sure. My attorney just gave me, I went to see my estate attorney yesterday and she just gave me a whole lesson on what a trust is like really used for and like who needs a trust and who doesn't need a trust. So that was really interesting, learning about how to utilize that the correct way.
Yeah, trust can get pretty nice, especially with protecting yourself from like liabilities and stuff. And also protecting yourself. People don't think about this, but a trust really protects yourself that if you did quote unquote like pass away, it makes it so the government doesn't get their hands into your stuff and it goes to the correct person, which I have to set up. It actually just reminded me. I've been blowing off my estate attorney because I don't know.
It's like you go there and you're like, dang, I have so much more work to do now.
Yeah, right. It's like, but you also touched on a little bit of get quick rich type programs or gurus out there, which that's one problem with real estate. I feel like now, because it kind of became like a fad, I guess, trend, I would call it, during COVID, because everything was going up. So everybody was talking about it. Everybody's getting like, people that had real estate or bought at the right time did get a little wealthy, but it's not true. You can't just flip a switch and get wealthy in real estate. It takes time. But the thing about real estate is it works and there's history behind it. And if you just do the steps and the work, you're going to become wealthy. But this get quick rich type like in a year or two, like I made $7 million. Like sure, there's anomalies out there if someone maybe like did it, but it's not going to happen for like 99.9% of people. It's going to take time.
Yeah. And I know why they do that, because they all have coaching programs. So that's why they do it, which cool. And they may have just been leveraged to like the hills and they did a bunch of stuff and maybe they are millionaires right now. And maybe they did do it in a year and awesome. Good for them. But like you said, those are anomalies. And for the most part, it takes time and it takes capital in order and education in order to be a real estate investor. I mean, like I said, I did a subject 2 class, which it was good. It taught me about subject 2, but I also feel like when you're in real estate, and at least for me, it takes me multiple times to hear a concept before I'm actually like, I get that. I get what that means. And so I don't know if you've experienced that, but and I'm also a very like, I need to do something in order to understand how it works. So like I've never done a full flip. So I'm excited to see what that is because I'm going to start doing those, but that's not something that I can really speak on like you could, because I know that's what you do, but I'm excited to try that process out. But I have to do things and I have to hear it multiple times and then just like a light bulb goes off and I'm like, oh, okay, I got that.
Yeah, which shows that's how everybody should kind of come into real estate. You should come into it, if you want to be a real estate investor, as like a sponge and you want to just learn as much as you can, try to soak up as much as you can and then learn it again to like understand it. I would say that a lot of people with those quick get rich quick type courses and stuff. Most of those gurus are just making the money off the courses, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
The real estate.
100%.
But a lot of people like just want the answer because they think that it's too complicated. Everything else, they just want like the magic answer. That's like, I'm going to buy this course. It's going to tell me, it's going to show me the rainbow to the gold pot of gold, and I'm just going to get there magically. But no, like even with those courses, they're just going to give you how to do it, and you still have to learn it more, implement it, and then take action, which then again makes it a longer process. And yeah,
and you're taking action by yourself because those gurus typically are in California, Arizona. I found they don't live here.
Yeah,
they don't know our market.
No, and every market's different. Like even in Charlotte alone, neighborhoods are different. Like some neighborhoods sell like way different than other neighborhoods. Like across a street is different. You got to really like you can really niche into the neighborhoods of like a city. And if that's so much different, then markets are totally different. And yeah, plus gurus are like usually, I don't know, they might be like out of state. They don't really know your market. They actually don't really care about you, to be honest. Sorry to be truthful. The second that you pay, they really don't care because they don't even have like a brick and mortar that you can go to and be like, hey, help me out. And a lot of it's automated and stuff. But that's awesome that like what you're doing is kind of a better coaching type program that kind of bluntly shows people that real estate isn't this like sexy get quick type thing, but here's how you do it. Here's how you can learn. Here's some tips, some concepts, some classes, some courses, and mentorship type program that we can help you along. But I feel like with Branch Wealth Partners, right? So I feel like you guys have more of a ideology that we're here to help you if you really want to get into investing and not get rich quick, but we're going to be here to help you like through the process, which could take like a year, it could take 2 years, but we're going to get you the foundational base to get you going to take the next step. Is that kind of like what you guys focus on?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. So we have a 12-week elite real estate investing mentorship program. And basically what that is, that's for aspiring real estate investors who know that they want to make real estate their predominant wealth building vehicle, who are like, okay, I know I want to do this, but I don't know where to start. I don't have a mentor. I don't want to spend $10,000 on this program that I can't even meet this person face to face. So we have really filled that gap, and we meet every Thursday night in downtown Concord. And we start off like our class number 1 is establishing your goals, establishing your why, getting in the right mindset, and looking at your personal finances. And we do kind of like a light qualification on our mentees. Like, A, you have to be in the right mindset. You have to know that this isn't a get rich quick. This is going to take a few years, and it's going to take some time. You probably should have some money in savings. Like you hear about all those, you can buy real estate with no money, but like, I guess you can, but we like to we follow the Dave Ramsey like methodology a little bit loosely. So we like people to have some savings, not really have any debt, and know that they're going to have to roll up their sleeves and take some time and figure out what to do. So we talk about that, and then we go into business formation. Do you want to set up an LLC, or is this going to be a partnership? And then we talk about building your team, because that's extremely important. And then we bring in like investor-friendly lenders and CPAs and attorneys to talk about what they do in real estate and how they can help. We talk about how people can invest in real estate, because a lot of people don't know that you can be super active or you can be super passive. Or if you have a ton of time, you can do one thing, or if you have a ton of money, you can do another thing, and what that looks like. And then we'll do some sample deal analysis. We'll go on field trips to rehabs and bring a repair estimator and have people come through with like a checklist and count windows. We'll look at the roof. We'll check out the HVAC, do all those things so they can get some real life experience. And then we talk about marketing, how you find the deals and how you can talk to sellers when you find off-market deals. And then we go into networking, and then we kind of we stay connected with our mentees after that. We typically do like monthly accountability calls where we can talk about what kind of deals they have on the horizon, how they're doing on their goals, if they have any questions. And then we continue having monthly classes, workshops that they can come to, where we'll have like an insurance expert. We'll have a 1031 exchange expert. We'll have a multifamily syndicator come in and talk about what that looks like. We had a gentleman come in and talk about he invests and develops large industrial buildings, big flex space buildings. So he talked about the risks of investing in commercial real estate. So people really get a full exposure of all the parts of real estate. And it's awesome. It's pure education, and it's been really great.
Yeah, that's perfect. Especially like having it not only just be like a networking event, but having the tools to help people like as they get away from the networking event too, like kind of have like some type of mentorship or classes or courses to continue educating themselves, kind of showing them the path of where they should go and start learning. Because a lot of the times when I'm investing, I have people come up to me a lot and ask like, how do I get started? Whatever. And I'm very busy, so I can't like mentor everyone, but sometimes I try to mentor people here and there, just if I feel like they actually are serious about it. So I love that you guys set up kind of a program or a community that a lot of these individuals can get into and kind of have that like guidance through the initial first woohoo, I can't wait to be an investor.
Yep.
And then they start diving into it. And I'm sure some of them are like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. But the ones that stay usually develop really well, I would say.
It's true. It's true. And then even for those who are kind of like past that, they're like, I'm not aspiring. I've already done like, I have 5 rentals, or I've done a couple of flips. We also consult folks like that where their pain point is scaling. They're trying to figure out what their next step is. So we sit down with them for an hour, however long that they want. We look at their portfolio, we talk about their goals, we strategize with them, and we help them move from that. I'm stuck. I have 10 properties. I have not really much money, and I don't really know where to go next. So we'll help them level up and then figure out like their next path is. Is that development? Is that private money lending? Is that trading some of your single family homes into a big multifamily project? So I've seen people sitting down with us, and Greg will be explaining some kind of concept that they had not heard of before. And I like their faces and their brains just like look like they explode. And it's great. But as you said before, it's like we want to work with people who want to be here and who want to do this and who want to grow. So it's been awesome finding that network of people and bringing them all together.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing too that you touched on is like showing all aspects of real estate, because there's so many ways to invest in real estate. You know, you can do commercial, you can do multifamily, you can do land and entitlement, you can do fix and flipping residential, you can do long-term renting residential, you do
development,
Airbnb, you can develop.
Yep.
So with like so many
you can
different
be a private money lender.
You can lend, you can
joint ventures.
You can do all this stuff. So it's awesome to like be able to expose everybody to that rather than having them just think that there's only one way to invest. Because I agree that there's a lot of ways to make money in real estate. And I think it's important to expose people to all of it so then they can pick that one that they think is best, and then that they can really focus on that. Because one problem with real estate is, yes, there's a lot of ways you can make money, especially when you start investing and start like Googling investment stuff or whatever. Your algorithm on Instagram is going to change to just all investment people. And then it's going to be one guy that says like, I just made $1 million Airbnb. The other guy's like, I just made $1 million arbitraging Airbnb. The other one says like, I just made $1 million building this. And then you're going to be like, ooh, shiny object syndrome. I want to do this and this. And then you end up going nowhere. So it's awesome that you guys like kind of present that all. Now, do you try to guide people to like pick one kind of niche to focus on, build that out and be like the best at that, and then they can think about investing in other things? Or what's your approach with that with Branch One?
Yeah, that's kind of what we do. So we actually have this grid where it's like how active or passive, and then how much time or money. And then we kind of plot all the ways you can invest in real estate that way. So we just have people based on that, based on their time and their money, like what kind of quadrant that they fall in. And then whatever that is, we really help them figure out how to do that. So yes. And we actually learned in our class last week when we had our industrial real estate guy come in, he was like, pick a niche and do it really well. And just like do what you know. And then I guess like once you get really good at that is when you can kind of take a turn and do the next thing. So yes, we really do try to get people to hone in on what they want to do. And then we help them take actionable little steps on the way. So we're like, okay, let's set up your LLC. Like step 1, let's do that. Or even before that, let's fill out your personal financial statement. So you have that ready for lenders. And then let's set up your LLC. And then let's talk to attorneys. Let's get a CPA in line and really give them like little bite size, like, okay, this is your homework. This is what you're going to do. So that by the end of the 12 weeks, they're like, oh, I have a full business set and ready to go. Now I just have to do the work.
Yeah, which is awesome because a lot of people get into it and then they get confused about how to even set up the business. And setting up LLCs and the way that you get taxed as a business is very, very important too. So before you do anything, you got to kind of figure out what you want to do and then set up your business that way. Now, I'm not saying like overanalyze everything to the point that you never actually start your business.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah, so you need to actually, like when you start buying and investing in real estate, you do need to set up like your business the right way to take advantage of those tax advantages, take advantage of, you know, ways that you can buy and sell easily and form like partnerships and stuff within your business. So I love that you guys do that because I remember the first time I had to set up an LLC. Now I've set up like maybe a lot. So Lindy, now I just go on and make it, or I just have my attorney do it and just say, this is what I need. But the first time I did it, I was like, what the heck am I doing? I think I used like LegalZoom and they like just made it. And then LegalZoom was awful, by the way. I didn't like them because they did stuff incorrectly. But I remember how like just unnerving I was in that process because I had no one to really turn to. And I was just like setting it up myself. So that's awesome that you guys have that, you know, have that guidance throughout that, especially, you know, starting a bit. And it's fun. It's exciting. I made a business.
Yeah.
So but awesome. So from just to turn a little bit into another topic, based on like what you've been seeing in the market so far and like talking to investors or or mentorships or within your program, and also just going to networking events and things like that. What's your current take on what's going on in like the market right now? You can talk about like nationwide, and then you can also even talk about like Charlotte individually too. Do you see any things that are piquing your senses to start thinking about investing in a different way, or are you seeing the market kind of turn, or what are just your ideas on it currently?
Yeah, for sure. So I have my real estate license, and real estate agents are one of the best referral partners for me. So I have a lot of real estate agent friends. I don't do residential real estate, but I hear from them what's going on. And there's definitely been a softening. Houses have been staying on the market for way longer than they were. The price point of like between 400 and 700, like really aren't moving. That's the middle class. And we all know what's going on with the middle class right now. It's just not very good for them. And then when you look at like the things that people with first time investors typically would want to invest in, that's kind of that sub 200, sub 150. Those are really hard to find. Like they will pop on the market and they're gone in like a day. So there just has not been a lot of inventory. However, there's no bad time for a good deal. We really believe in like, go drive around, go drive for dollars, go write down addresses and find distressed houses and call some sellers and you can find something. So it's just harder. I don't think that it's impossible. It is harder to make the math work. And especially like if you're doing bigger multifamily or in commercial, then the cap rates aren't like where they should be at all. But that's not to say that things won't change. I also feel like that side maybe will start picking up. And then also the election's coming up. So folks just are scared to do anything with the election, although historically nothing has changed after any election. It's just kind of that anxiety leading up to it. So overall, like I said, no bad time for a good deal. You just have to be a little bit more creative and put in a little bit more work and have a really strong team. Like if you aren't good at the math part of it, if you're really good at networking and finding deals, but your just math skills and analytical skills aren't the best, then team up with someone who knows how to do that so that you can just be out there finding all the people, finding all the houses, and then you have someone else analyzing for you. And it just really speeds up process and is super helpful. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I agree with you a lot. I mean, I'm doing flips right now and I'm noticing that some are sitting longer. Luckily, we're doing a few flips that are like the lower or the mid like 200s or so is like our sales price. Because we thought that like in this market that it'd be better for like starter homes to like be able to flip and sell just because it is softening for sure. And the middle class is getting whacked by this economy because everything's more expensive and the rates are higher. And I think buyers are just kind of burnt out because just the rates have been just sitting at that high sixes, sometimes even sevens. And then the prices of homes have just been staying like for that boom. So, and because it's supply and demand issue. So like there's not enough supply. So like the houses aren't going to drop prices. And then a lot of people that are selling the houses have an interest rate of like 3%. So they're like, I'm not going to lower my price. Like I'll keep this if I have to. They have that mindset. So it's super hard to move properties quicker in this market. And again, with the election coming up, even the season coming up, like winter and fall is usually notoriously a slower type season. Maybe not as much in like the Carolinas because it's still kind of nice out, but like New England, definitely like the north area, definitely the winter is very slow because nobody wants to buy a house with 10 inches, 12 inches of snow around. And that kind of is what I'm seeing too. It's just being a little bit, it's softening up a little bit. But again, as long as your numbers are correct and you're just underwriting for that lag time of maybe if you're doing a fix and flip to sell, so you just add extra couple months of your holding time. Maybe for rentals, you're adding in more creative financing. So you're asking the seller to maybe private or lend or do some seller financing on the property to help you just kind of hit the numbers that you need until you can refinance in like a year once you stabilize it. Those are the conversations that need to be had definitely right now. Because I think based on my experience of like investing for about 3 years now, I came in when it was like a COVID boom, like at the peak. So like all I've been seeing is the real estate market getting harder, which I guess in the future it's going to help because it just builds thick skin. And I'm just like, whatever, like this is hard. But I think right now is one of the hardest times to invest in real estate that I've been in 3 years, like right now. And I think it is a combination of the election, combination of just rates not moving and just everybody's burnt out, and a combination of just sellers just not having to sell. And they're like, whatever. And then you got a ton of wholesalers that are coming in hot with deals that are not priced the way they should be, but you have a lot of buyers that feel like they need to be buying. So they're overspending on all these properties. So it makes it just hard to find deals because you're competing with people that are just not very patient and they're taking that risk of overbuying for a property, which is probably going to hurt them later. But it's hard to find a deal. But what you said, as long as you do the numbers, as long as it works and you just just keep doing it, you will find deals. And if you're creative, if you're finding creative solutions, finding ways to just network, meet with people, and maybe help out other investors, partner. There's tons of ways to get deals done. But I will say, yeah, it is. I can feel that it's one of the hardest times to invest, I would say.
For sure. And you said a few things. So yeah, I think really great, like Charlotte and Concord. I'm in Concord, and this is kind of my market, Southern Rowan and Cabarrus County. I want to say Concord is like the 5th fastest growing city in North Carolina. And I think Charlotte, is the top 5 or 10 fastest growing cities in the country. And I think part of the reason that the prices are going up so high here, we have Yankees like us moving down here who are so used to paying so much money for real estate that they come down here and they're like, oh my gosh, that's a great deal. Great deal for them, but not a great deal for people that are here. And they're like, no, that's not a great deal. So that is driving prices up. You touched on the wholesaling. Since I am a real estate agent, I have to go through and take all like the real estate classes. And I know that is on the list for the real estate commission to really try to crack down on right now with all this NAR lawsuit settlement and everything. That's really not on the top of their agenda, but that is something that they are watching really closely. And then another group of people. So we have a ton of migration to Charlotte, but I heard from some real estate agent friends that the group of people that own the most real estate right now in the country are people who are 65 and older, are baby boomers. So they're all kind of just sitting in their houses right now, sitting on a ton of equity. Eventually they're going to have to go somewhere, whether that's no longer on the earth or that is an assisted living home or that is with family members. So like that is going to be coming soon. There will be some kind of pop within the next few years, which will be awesome for investors. Will be awesome for everybody. It may not be the best for the economy because prices are going to drop because there's going to be so much inventory on the market. But I also think that we are in a area where we are going to constantly be having people come here. Like Charlotte's beautiful. So
yeah, and it's right. It's right in the middle of the New England area, the Florida area, and then it has mountains that are driving distance, and then it has the coast, which is driving distance. It's perfect. I love it. I love the Carolinas for sure.
I love it too. I was born in New York, raised in Charlotte, moved back to New York when I was 20, lived there, lived in Manhattan, did the Manhattan life. And I was like, you know what? I'm moving back to Charlotte. Like you really just can't beat it. And that's why so many people are moving here.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, you touched on something in there. I think it was a moving. Yes, a lot of people moving here. So another thing that I thought about that affects the market, especially in the Charlotte area, is there was such a boom of people moving here. And this is similar to a lot of other markets on the Sun Belt of people just moving there. So you see it in Austin right now for sure. Austin is kind of like the top, like, I don't know, the top city that's kind of showing what happens when things like this occur. So a ton of people move into a city, right? And all the developers are like, oh my God, we have so many people coming here. We should build a ton of apartment complexes. So they build a ton of apartment complexes and they all finish being built at the same time, which then makes it that all the rents are and all the units are available, right? So then you have people moving to Charlotte that are looking for houses, looking for property, but then you have the rates are so high and then you have people not budging on their pricing. So then people that are moving here are like, well, why don't we just like rent for a little bit because we could just get down there into these brand new apartment complex units. And I think that is also another thing that's hurting markets like this a little bit. I mean, it's not hurting it. There's more people here, obviously, that helps boost the economy, but it's hurting like the people that are trying to buy houses or sell houses because they just have so much more opportunity to rent now. And I hate saying this, but I feel like the United States as a whole is kind of moving towards kind of a renter's nation in a way. And I think until there's kind of a change in the market of either someone's income across the board goes up, the expenses, like the economy, how expensive it is goes down, or the rates go down, or prices drop of houses, it would kind of be stuck of people that are going to decide to rent more than buy. Which you could say that stinks, but it's good for long-term investors with rental properties. It's good for developers. It's good for fix and flippers that want to hold the property and rent it too. But there's always going to be buyers as well. And you touched on this too, that like the middle class is probably the hardest right now, between like 400 to like 700,000. Like that's the ones that are sitting the longest, which I agree. So maybe fix and flippers need to focus more on like the niches of like the really wealthy people, because like the wealthy people throughout COVID just got way more wealthy.
Oh, they're always going to have money. Like it's just a thing.
Like once you hit like that tier of money, it's hard to lose it. That's why like sometimes I see like NFL players and stuff. I'm like, how do you lose your money? Like just buy a couple real estate stuff and you'll be good. You can spend money.
Buy a house in every city for the team that you're playing for. Just buy real estate and then rent it out. Like that's your retirement plan.
Literally, I don't know who they are talking to. But yeah, and then like also fix and flippers could focus more on like the starter home type section as well, because maybe that middle class is very hard at the moment. But I don't know, like things could switch. Like a lot more opportunity could be on the rise too, because I see all the time people post like foreclosures are like the lowest it's been. But my take on that is foreclosures are the lowest it's been because there's so much equity in these houses. So people can just refinance and take that money out and then keep like paying. But the second they suck that equity dry, it's just going to start a huge foreclosure collapse, I think.
Yeah.
Like, sure, they got some time now, and people are like, oh, we're fine. The market's not going to crash because of so much equity, but it's just prolonging it, basically.
Oh, I agree. Too many people are refinancing their houses right now to pay off all their debt. And it's just going to continue being in a debt cycle. Like if that's what you're doing, if you're just consolidating your debt to pay off your debt, you're probably the kind of person that's going to keep accumulating debt again, and the cycle is going to continue. So yeah. And then, so you touched on renting and rentals. And I know your listeners are probably more outside of Charlotte, but in the South End area of Charlotte, they have built a ton of apartments and they're having a hard time filling those apartments. So they're like having deals, lower prices, like 1 month free. So I've been noticing that. And then part of our business, we also are a real estate asset management firm. So AKA property management. So we have noticed that, and much like for buying houses, anything that's between like 2,000 and 4,000, really hard price point. Anything below 2,000, like the 1,500 or lower, quick, gone in a day. Anything above 4,000, shockingly, or maybe not shockingly, also gone in like days, because wealthy people are always going to be wealthy. And then, like we've already touched on, the middle class is getting hit the hardest. Like I had a beautiful townhouse in Harrisburg. It sat for almost 80 days, but it was listed for like $2,400 a month. No one could afford that. We dropped the price to 2,000, one day, gone. So we have noticed those things. And then like the prices of rents are not keeping up with income. So like people are still making the same amount of money. They're getting their 1 to 3 to 5% yearly increase, but like rents are going up real fast.
Yeah.
So it's a problem.
Yeah, especially all those apartment complexes like just being completed at like the same time.
Exactly.
It's kind of scary because it's like they all completed at the same time. They had like an idea of what the rents would be, and now they're like taking cuts. So like it makes me think like, what do their numbers look like now? Like, are they in trouble? Like, I don't know. I'm sure they planned for it because they're developing apartment complexes. They have like hopefully some
contingencies and stuff.
Contingencies and things. But like even here in Noda where I live, like there's 4 apartment complexes going up that are all looking to finish at the same time. It's going to be like an influx of like 500 units in Noda alone, which then it's going to be a battle for renting them. They're going to get price cut. It's going to hurt other investors here that are trying to like rent their properties, because then they're going to have to compete with those brand new. They're going to have to lower their prices to get people in. It's just really funky. It's definitely funky for sure, but not to scare
everybody. Really is.
This is real.
No. It's not scary at all.
It's cyclical. This happens all the time. It goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Things are always changing. Things are always happening. But the thing is that as long as you understand what's going on, you can find the deals and pick those deals and do the right things, do the right underwriting and prepare for this stuff. You're going to be way more successful in the future, and you're going to be light years ahead of all the other investors that don't do that, basically.
Yeah. I think the stock market is more risky in a lot of ways. Like if you're day trading or whatever you're doing there, like I find real estate less risky because I can see it. I can go to it. I can estimate appreciation. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's way less scary.
Yeah. I like it that you can it's a physical thing that you can see and change yourself. Like it's yours, and it's land. It's land in a building. So it's not really going anywhere unless you demolish it or something happens to the building, but the land's not going anywhere. So,
and you get tax benefits, which is awesome.
Yeah. Stocks to me, I mean, it's good. I invest in some stocks like here and there, and think about getting like a 401k for my business just to tax write-offs. It's nice little loophole type thing you can do. But you're investing in businesses that you have zero say in, that you're just hoping that they just successfully do their thing, and then you get the returns that you want. And I think that's way more risky than like buying a property that you could physically go into and be like,
that you're in control of.
This is my property.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be diversified. You should totally be diversified. Like I have real estate. I also have an IRA. I have a Roth. I have things like that. So not saying you shouldn't do that, but I just love real estate. So that's my thing. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. The thing that's amazing about real estate is it's the leveraging that really takes the cake, I think, because you can, let's think about this in terms of like the stock market. So now let's think about it in real estate. So in real estate, say you buy like a $500,000 house, you can put down like 5% for it. So you can put down $25,000 to leverage a $500,000 asset that then quote unquote appreciates 3 to 5% a year, which is $25,000. So you basically just made back your $25,000 down payment and doubled it by just having it in a year. In the stock market, you can't like leverage. I mean, you can take a loan out if you want to, but that freaking scary
Mm-hmm.
because it's not a physical asset. It's like a business. It can go up and down. So you've seen the stock market crash like within a day. It's just scary. But whatever you put into the stock market, like that's what it's gaining on. So you put $25,000 into the stock market, it goes up like 6 or 7%. You're making 6 or 7% on that $25,000. In real estate, you're putting $25,000 in to make 3 to 5% on that $500,000, which is way more than what you would be making in the stock market. So it's a leverage play, I think, that is the best in real estate that you can't really do in the stock market that I think takes the cake away from it. But again, yeah, stock market's always good because it is reliable. There's a ton of history behind it. As long as you put money in there and don't touch it, treat it like a tax thing, and you're going to touch it once you retire, it's going to make you money. But I think real estate is just the leveraging is the beauty of it.
Oh, for sure. And then back to your $500,000 asset, if that's a rental, you're also getting income from that asset. And then your tenant's paying off your mortgage, paying off your debt. You get, like I said before, the appreciation, you have the tax depreciation. You just have so much more than what a stock can do for you, which, I mean, again, you should have it. It's safe, have it in bonds, have it in S&P, whatever. But it's just, there's just so much more you can do.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So let's take a little turn here again. I know I'll probably wrap up in the next 10 minutes or so. I know you're busy, but let's dive into a little bit on kind of your journey through like business networking or wealth creation and stuff. Like when you first got into it, like initially when you were going around and talking to people, like what were your initial thoughts? And then what has it changed throughout? Like obviously you went from trying to network with people to now you're part of a business that helps people do those things like network, create businesses and wealth creation. So what was your mindset from when you started and then where it is now? And what do you recommend to people to not get the same mindset, but to kind of get on that straight path journey to wealth creation?
Yeah, for sure. There was definitely a mindset shift. There was like a day or like a time period where like I went from thinking one way to thinking another way. So that's really number one. And then, so as my background as an executive assistant, I have always been like a people person, people pleaser, and always good on the phone. So, but I really didn't have much networking experience. I was just really good with the people that I supported. So when I started networking, it was a whole new thing for me. But if you can genuinely care about people and have a genuine conversation and you can build a relationship, then networking is very easy. Like if you just don't come across super salesy or super arrogant or just if you don't come off negatively, being out and about is really fun and really easy. I'm a closet introvert. So like I'm out and about all day because that's my job, talking to people and making phone calls, making cold calls, going to networking events, doing all the things. But when I go home, I'm like, all right, let's, I mean, the Mets season is over, but let's put on some baseball or let's whatever sports are on. And then I just kind of want to like zone out and I don't want to talk to anyone on the phone. I don't want to text anyone. I barely I'll talk to my husband and my stepson and we'll all hang out, but that's like my turn off time. So you have to balance it. If you're doing too much of one thing, then that's really never a good thing. So I find finding balance, which is difficult when you have a family and you have a job where you're client facing all the time and you have a lot of early morning events, and you have a lot of late evening events. But I think when you find that balance, that really is where you start to make the magic happen. I'm also a Christian, so faith in God also is great. If you have him on your side, then you know you can do anything. So that's kind of the way that I go into it. I'm a doer. So I know when I have something in my mind that I'm going to get it done. I write down my goals. I have a whiteboard next to me that has all my goals written down. I have them written down, I have notes to myself, like reminders. So it's just that constant reminder. It's that consistent action that it may seem kind of boring because you're doing the same thing every day, but those small consistent actions that you do every single day is what leads to the big changes. So that's a big thing that I have found, especially being in this new role, is that it may not be that fun cold calling prospective sellers because you just drove for dollars, but it's the law of numbers. The more people you call, the more return calls you'll have, the more offers you'll send, the more under contracts and more properties that you'll get. So it's really about the consistency.
Yeah, that's big. People think that they can take a big step and just get from not investing to investing really quick, but it is about consistently taking those little steps. But it's important to figure out what those steps are and then do them every single day. I do something similar. I have it right there. It's called the power list. That's blurry, but it's not coming up. Oh, there it is. Power list.
Okay.
You do 5 tasks. You just write down 5 tasks every day. You can't really see that, but 5 tasks to move the needle on your business that you're going to do every single day. If you hit all 5 tasks, it's a win. If you don't, you technically lose. But what it does is it allows you to focus just on those 5 things. So you're not thinking about doing so many other things and you're so discombobulated throughout the day, like, like you got to complete these 5 tasks. And if you do, then you can just go do whatever you want the rest of the day because you won the day, right? And then you can look back on all the pages of like what you've done. And when it feels like you're not moving, you can just look back and be like, wow, actually, I've been moving the needle every single day. And this is where I'm at and this is where I was. So I think it is important to have those things, just like you do with a whiteboard. That's probably very similar. Put up like what you need to do, you cross it off, do list type things. And then you can look back and be like, oh, I did it. Because a lot of the time in real estate investing or in business as a whole, you just are doing stuff and you're not seeing any rewards. And you're like,
why am I doing this?
You're like, why am I doing this? And then like, you're like, am I doing this right? But if you kind of sit back and take note of what you've been doing, and as long as you actually are doing the steps to get to where you want to be, it's just a definition of delayed gratification. So, and it will come to fruition. We just got to keep on doing it and be consistent with it. Like you said, it's like working out. It's like just developing any skill. It's like going to practice for like baseball or football. You got to go again and again to get good at it for the big game. And that's kind of how you treat it.
And I was even going to hit on that. So like the importance of like just living a healthy lifestyle, like having your diet right, getting in some kind of workout. I mean, it really does help you, because if you feel crappy, then you're really not going to perform to your best of your ability. I also made a vision board for the first time ever in January.
I gotta do that.
And I have it in my bathroom. So I look at it every morning when I'm getting ready. And as weird as it sounds, I find it's very inspirational to look at it. So, and I feel like at least half the things on there I've already achieved, which is...
You got to update it then.
I got to update it. And also, I don't know if you ever read the book 10X by Grant Cardone, or if you're a Grant Cardone fan.
I didn't read that one, no, but I did read that.
It's a good one. It will make you want to run through a wall if you listen to it on Audible. And he basically, like, the main concept is like whatever goal that you have, 10X it and make that your goal. Because if you just make the goal that you have your goal, like, and you don't make it, then you're short. But if you like have a super unachievable, unrealistic goal, you will make it way, way further than your original goal, and you'll make it kind of somewhere in between. So, I mean, the concept is great. So I try to do that. And I feel like that's working out, because you continue doing these consistent actions and then they just start snowballing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Elon Musk does the same thing. He it'll be like a 5-year plan to like build a rocket or something. And he's like, no, we're doing this in 6 months. And like his team's like, that's not possible. He's like, we're going to do it in 6 months. But they don't do it in 6 months. But the amount of stuff that they got done in those 6 months, like almost made it like the timeline 4 years less. Because now they're we can actually finish this year. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he failed to hit the 6 months, but the amount of work that he did to get there, to try to hit it, even though it's like unattainable, put him light years ahead. So it's kind of like the 10X thing, right? It's like, I want to do like 3 flips a year. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, let's do 30. And you're like, holy, I don't know.
But you did 5. So you're still better than your original goal.
Then you did like 5 or 10. You're like, oh my God, I actually did really good. And then you're like, I did 5 or 10 this year. Next year I'm going to do like 50 to 100. And then you're like, oh, I didn't make it, but I hit 30. And then you're like, wait a minute, now I hit my 10X from like 2 years ago. It's cool. Know. It's cool. But yeah, Grant Cardone is always good on that aspect of 10X. I've always heard about that a lot. He does like a lot of 10X, like not shows, like he does speaking events for 10X and things like that. Yeah. So he runs with that a lot. So yeah, I got to read that book. A lot of my friends have read it.
It's a good one. I mean, and that's another thing, like continuing to learn, like educating yourself every day. I'm listening either to Audible or a podcast or my Bible app. Like I'm constantly listening to something and learning and just like taking in whatever I can. And I don't even think it's about just like reading as many different books as you can in 1 year. Like sometimes I'll read the same book like 3 or 4 times because I really want to like understand what's going on. Because, you know, when you read a book for the first time, you get like 1 or 2 nuggets and you're like, okay, cool. But I forget the rest. So it really kind of gets you to understand and learn the entire book. So I have found that listening to Audible has been super helpful too. That has been another change in my life that I added in when I started in real estate that has exponentially helped me.
Yeah, me too. I never read consistently. I was like that guy in like college,
me either.
High school, that I was like, screw reading. Or like if we had like a book report, I would like go on Cliff Notes or something.
But I've always wanted to. It's always been a goal. I'm like, I really want to start reading.
Yeah.
But I don't have ADD, but I have like, I can't focus when I read a book, when I sit down. So someone told me about Audible and I was like, genius, light bulb went off and started doing that. And now I do Audible, and now I actually do read books. I'll have an Audible book going and then I'll have like a hard copy book going. So it's like I'm constantly reading 2 or 3 things at once.
Love it. Yeah. Reading has really opened my mind a ton too. I wouldn't be like where I am today without reading, surprisingly.
Oh yeah.
Not surprisingly, actually, because it's just, there's so much knowledge out there that you don't even know about. And just a book can really change your whole life. And like you said, Rich Dad Poor Dad is one of those books for
changed my life.
Yeah, a ton of people. Changed it pretty much for me too. I read that one and then the Brandon Turner book.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting into real estate. great.
Yep. I read that. That was like my number 3 book. What is it? Creative Financing or something?
There was one with like has red letters on the cover, which is like low and no money down real estate investing.
Okay.
And
Yep.
then the other one was just like a blue font cover that was just broke down all aspects of like how you can invest in real estate. And yeah, Brandon Turner is great.
It's great. And then all of Robert Kiyosaki, he has all of these like other advisors that write books. And then he has like his encyclopedia that's seriously like this big. I think it was like 30 hours of listening time that I listened through. But that also is super helpful. And then I don't know, did you ever read the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss?
No, but that is one that someone has told me to read multiple times.
That's a good one, especially for like, it's a negotiation book.
Yeah.
Chris Voss, he was a terrorist negotiator, and he wrote this book on how you just negotiate in everyday life. And I found it super interesting. I listened to it on Audible like 3 or 4 times, and then I bought the hard copy so I could go through and like highlight things. So that's super, especially in real estate when you're negotiating deals all the time.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything in real estate is sales. Everything in life is sales.
Everything in life is sales.
Even when you're trying to make a friend, you're trying to sell that like you're a good person in a way to like your friend.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And vice versa.
Mhm.
When you're trying to go on a date with someone, you're trying to like sell like I'm this type of person. You know, you're selling. Everything is selling.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. All right. So I got 2 more questions for you. We kind of hit on a few things, but I just want to get like your top answer. And that is like, what is your best piece of advice of a new investor wanting to get started in investing? Like, what is your number one thing that pops to your mind that you would recommend to get started?
Find a mentor. Find someone who is willing to spend the time with you to help coach you and teach you what you need to know. It will save you so many pitfalls because you'll learn from their mistakes and take their advice, build a team, like from that mentorship, build a team, and then continue learning like we just talked about, like read, educate yourself. But the number one thing to me that has helped me is mentorship. My managing partner, he's, like I said before, he's been in the business for 28 years. And like, I am so lucky to be working for this company where I have a built-in mentor that I can go across the hall and ask him any questions that I have, helps me analyze deals. So I think having a mentor and just knowing there's someone in your corner who was there for you, just give a call, give a text if you have a question, hands down, the best thing that a new real estate investor can have.
Absolutely. And I will say this, like a lot of investors are kind of like, how do I get a mentor? Or like they'll just ask an investor and the investor will be like, no, I don't got time for that. When you try to get a mentor, you have to, here's a tip to everybody. When you want to get a mentor, a good mentor, you have to provide value to that mentor for them to actually like to mentor you. Like in Christina, in your case, you went and talked to your mentor and then you came back and you said like, hey, how do I become a part of this vision that you have? And how can I help you like build this? And that's when he was like, okay, this person actually is serious. I'm going to offer you a job. And then boom, there's your mentor. And now you're helping him like build his vision, right? If you just reach out to like invest, like I get reached out all the time, people like, can you teach me how to do this? I'm just like, I can, but like not to be like kind of weird, but like, how are you benefiting? How am I benefiting from it?
Yeah.
And I'll talk to wholesalers all the time too, because they're like, teach me how to underwrite deals, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I can teach you how to do stuff, but first like go read this book. And if like they read that book and come back to me, then I'm like, okay, they're pretty serious. Because then I know that I can teach them and then they'll find me deals in particularly, which helps me. And then it helps them to build their business. But if you're just reaching out to investors, like you had a meet up and you're like, be my mentor. You can, like,
yeah, that goes back to the relationship building that I was chatting about before. Yeah. Being a little bit more tactful, like, hey, how about I buy you a cup of coffee and we just sit down and talk. Approach it a little softer.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. If you really like someone and you want them to be your mentor, just bring them a deal. If you bring them a deal, they'll mentor you. Like they just will. They'll be like, oh my God, a gift for me, a deal? And you're like, yeah. And then you just say, hey, here's a deal. I don't know what to do with it. Can you do it? And can I just ride along with you to learn the whole process? Like that is the best way to get mentorship because one, he's getting a deal. You're probably still going to get some money from it because the mentor is going to give you money for bringing the deal. And two, you're going to learn the whole process because obviously they're going to show you it because you brought them a deal. Like that's the best way to do it. And yes, when you get mentors, it skips a lot of possible lessons you would have to learn from doing it yourself, which is good. So yeah, mentorship, I agree, is awesome. But all right, we'll wrap this up because we've been on this for about an hour. And I know we're both pretty busy. But before we go, is there anything else you would like to tell the audience, like how to contact you, like social media, meetups that you run, where they are, like where they can attend them, if you have charity events, business links, etc., like how to reach out to you if you just want to go over that?
Yeah, for sure. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, all at Branch Wealth Partners. And if you are in the Charlotte or Concord area, we have our mentorship program that I was talking about. We meet in downtown Concord on Thursday nights. So we always let people come to their first workshop complimentary. We serve dinner. So come on down. I can send you our schedule, and maybe you can post that with the podcast or something. And then you can always call us. You can go to our website, branchwealthpartners.com, and you can reach out to me. I can also share my contact information. But yeah, shoot me a text, give me a call, shoot me an email, meet you for coffee if you bring me a deal.
Exactly.
And we can chat about how I can help.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll put all of your information in bio when we post this, and then on the clips too, I'll put your Instagram information and stuff so people can reach out as well. But that's awesome. Thank you for coming on, Christina. It was awesome to get to talk to you and learn about your business and what you're focusing on. And hopefully some people get a lot of insight from this, and I think that they will.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.